Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low. Running from a ghost town where we never feel high, just low. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. In Hawaii. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low. Running from a ghost town where we never feel high, just low. We won't ever come down. We won't ever
hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Big Nerd Pub Quiz, coming to you live from Rostrevor, County Down, here on this Sunday night, the 12th of July, 2020. Hope you're all keeping well and safe. Yes, this is your weekly general knowledge fix, coming to you live, like I said, every Sunday night now at 8 p.m. We've got 8 rounds coming up of random general knowledge trivia, so yes, let's get kicked off and check it out. This is your first time to Big Nerd Pub Quiz, then you're very welcome. You can play the good old-fashioned way with using pen or paper, or use the Google form in the YouTube description below, which is, of course, the best way, and the only way you can win some fantastic prizes, as we do on every week and Big Nerd Pub Quiz. You can play as a team or individually, totally up to yourself. Pop open the Google link, enter your email address, and answer the multiple choice questions as they come in. 8 rounds, like I said before, 6 questions each. There's only one correct answer per question. Once the quiz is finished, all you have to do is hit submit on the question sheet. You'll get your scores at the end, but stick about. See how you did with all the answers. It's recommended that you stream the quiz on a laptop or TV and play using the Google form on another device. Good luck and have some fun. If you want to get in touch with Big Nerd Pub Quiz at any point in this evening, you can get in touch via all the different social media channels that we have: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Give us a follow on all the different social media channels there. Just look up at Big Nerd Pub Quiz. Use the hashtag Big Nerd Pub Quiz to share your picks. Let me know where you're playing, and let me know how you get on. I'm always interested in any sort of feedback, whether you thought the quiz was too hard, too easy. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share the YouTube channel to all your mates if you do fancy it. Tons and tons of quizzes that you can play and catch up with. This is just a tiny selection, but we've got way more than that now. We've got Disney, obviously, Star Wars, Star Trek, Game of Thrones. We've had Friends, Marvel, DC, Father Ted. And we've got tons of specialty quizzes coming up. Don't forget, you can hire the Big Nerd Pub Quiz for private events. I actually landed my first corporate gig and did it there on Friday, which was really good fun. It's the perfect activity for social distancing. It's fully customizable with questions and graphics for you or your company. It's really affordable and easy to set up. Just give me an email for a quote on that. Like I said, if you know any companies that are any kind of corporations that are doing like social distancing, or you want a party that obviously everyone can't come to, by all means get in touch with me. Like I said, now the general knowledge quiz now on every Sunday night at 8 p.m. And coming up next week, we have the Big Nerd Sci-Fi quiz this Tuesday the 14th, and the Big Nerd Doctor Who quiz this Thursday at 8 p.m. on the 16th of July. We're firing through the month already, like we're nearly halfway through. We got a games quiz coming up on the 21st, plus a wrestling quiz on the 23rd, followed by a music quiz and another Star Trek quiz, because had to do it. And don't forget, the winner of tonight's general knowledge quiz will win this fantastic Big Nerd Pub Quiz t-shirt, as well as a selection of mixed beers from Northern Ireland Brew Co. It's for over 18s only, and do drink responsibly. You can also Support the Big Nerd Pub Quiz by buying the merch from the site. Use the code BIGQUIZ for a 10% discount. And support the quiz, like I said, always free to play. However, you can support the work that goes into making it by donating as little as £1 to the PayPal or become a Patreon. Huge thank you to everyone out there who's been donating over the last couple of months. It's been really, really worth it. I absolutely love doing this for you guys. And yes, as you can see, I'm wearing my old school 1995 Republic of Ireland jersey here in salute to the former manager of Ireland, Jack Charlton, who sadly passed away there yesterday. And like I said, my first ever football memory was watching Ireland versus Italy in USA 94. And I was so young, like, you know, they were playing the best team to open up with and nobody gave us a chance. And like, we won. And because I was too young to understand, it was like, did we just win the World Cup? Thinking that because we beaten the team that got to the final, and actually Roberto Baggio and everyone, I just thought we'd won a World Cup. It was like, no, that's not how World Cups work, Mark. But yes, Jack Charlton, huge part of our lives here with football, and just in general. Like I said, I'll always be a member of Jackie's army forever after that. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us here tonight, and we're going to kick off tonight's general knowledge quiz with, of course, a general knowledge round, like we always do. Round 1, question 1. We're going to go fire straight into it. So yes, I don't know whether any budding stargazers out there, but this week, the object Neowise was visible from the surface of the Earth. But what is Neowise? That's round 1, question number 1. So this week, there was an object that was visible from the surface of the Earth, and it's called Neowise. But what is Neowise? It's round 1. Question 1 to get you started off this evening. Moving on. Round 1, question 2. In which city is this year's postponed Champions League final set to take place? That's round 1, question number 2. Yes, the Champions League draw was done this week. And it was, they basically paired off all the teams going into the quarters, and it's a direct route to the final. There was no draws in to see who was playing home or away. It's going to be a complete knockout tournament, and I can't wait. That August is going to be very special for football fans out there. So which city is this year's postponed Champions League final set to take place? That's round 1, question 2. Another sports one to follow it up there. Round 1, question 3. Who won the recent Austrian Grand Prix, which was held on the 5th of July? Round 1, question 3. So, who won the recent Austrian Grand Prix, which was held on the 5th of July? Yes, more sports returning to our screens there. Round 1, question 3. Who won that particular Grand Prix there in Austria there? Round 1, question 3. Round 1, question 4. One for cinema and music lovers out there. But Italian composer Ennio Morricone died in Rome at the age of 91. But what film did he score that landed his first Oscar? Yes, very, very famous, iconic compositions that he's done over the years. But which film actually landed his first Oscar? It may surprise you. But that's round 1, question 4. Ennio Morricone. Moving on. Round 1, question number 5. Some UK supermarkets out there said that they would pull a number of products from the shelves after it emerged that monkeys were used to pick which of the following ingredients. So yes, in your answer sheet there, you've got a few. So some UK supermarkets said they'd be pulling a number of products off the shelves after it emerged monkeys were being used to pick what ingredient. Alright. So it's round 1, question 5. And round your final general knowledge question. Like I said, I had to get one in about Jack here. Round 1, question 6. Which team did Jack Charlton manage before he was appointed Republic of Ireland manager in 1986? So round 1, question 6. Which team did Jack Charlton manage before he was appointed Republic of Ireland manager in 1986? Yes, he was famously a one-club man with Leeds United and won the 1966 World Cup with his brother Bobby. I was one of the oldest players on the team. In fact, when he asked Alf Ramsey, why did you pick me to be on the squad? I'm not the best defender in England. And he says, Alf Ramsey told him, you're the best player for this team. The rest is history. But round 1, question 6. Which team did Jack Charlton manage before he was appointed Republic of Ireland manager in 1986? And there is your roundup of questions there. This week, the object Neowise was visible from the surface of the Earth. But what is Neowise? 2. In which city is this year's postponed Champions League final set to take place? 3. Who won the recent Austrian Grand Prix, which was held on the 5th of July? 4. Italian composer Ennio Morricone died in Rome, age of 91. But which film did he score that landed his first Oscar? 5. Which ingredient did UK supermarkets say they were going to pull because of monkeys picking these particular types of ingredients? And number 6, which team did Jack Charlton manage before he was appointed Republic of Ireland manager in 1986? Anyway, that's your first round all done and dusted. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch with me at any point during the quiz for a wee shout out, by all means get in touch with all the different social media channels. As you know, as you can see here, I've actually I've rejigged the mainframe. I've made this a little bit more colourful. But like I said, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And don't forget to, like I said, donate via the Patreon and PayPal. Like I said, the quiz is based on a model of soundness. If you ever saw me down the street and would like to buy me the price of a pint or a cup of coffee, like, by all means, please donate to that. Thank you very much. Anyway, moving on to the next round of tonight's quiz, round 2. And what have I got lined up for you here? Round 2 is all about... It's a movie round, and very similar to one we did a couple of weeks ago, directorial debuts. Yes, a couple of weeks ago I did ask you questions about various directors and give you a kind of slice of their work, and you had to guess which director matched that particular oeuvre of cinema. However, today I'm going to show you 6 movies which are directorial debuts for some very, very famous filmmakers out there. All you have to do is guess who the filmmaker is. So here we go. Round 2. Question number 1. So, the year I believe is 1967. And the film's called Who's That Knocking at My Door? It's round 2, question 1. Round 2, question number 1. So who's that knocking at my door? Round 2, question 2. THX 1138. It's very, very sterile title for a movie there. But round 2, question 2. THX 1138. I actually picked it out because I have it up here in my DVD collection. I was kind of like looking and thought, oh, how can I word that into a question? And then when it came to me, I thought, oh, well, I'll round the whole thing into whose directorial debuts. But THX 1138, I'll give you a clue here. The THX Effects sound company that do the effects for a lot of big Hollywood blockbusters. It was founded by this particular director, as well as ILM, Industrial Light and Magic. This guy, director, obviously did a lot of big blockbusters. That's your clue there. This is round 2, question 2. THX 1138. Round 2, question 3. Duel. If you haven't seen Duel, it's a very, very interesting movie. I think it was made for TV, but then was given a general cinema release back in 1973 or 74. It involves a man being chased by a truck. That's it. It's really strange, but a very, very scary movie. That's round 2, question 3. The movie's called Duel. And this very famous director's very first movie. But round 2, question 3. Who directed that movie? Duel. Round 2, question 3. Round 2, question 4. Fear and Desire. Again, another Hollywood stalwart. His movies are considered to be one of the collection of the finest and wide-ranging of all cinema. And yes, his influence has been felt far and wide. But this was his first movie, 1953, I think it was, Fear and Desire. It's round 2, question number 4. To kind of give you a clue on what this director has done, his movies range from science fiction, historical epics, horror, war. He's done it all. Comedy even. Round 2, question 4. Fear and Desire. Round 2, question 5. Kind of more into the 90s here. Bad Boys. Again, this director here has moved on to big blockbusters himself. The biggest clue I can give you with this guy is that he loves explosions. It's round 2, question 5. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith there. In the first Bad Boys. Are they doing a new one? I think they are. It's round 2, question 5. Bad Boys. And your final directorial debut question for this evening, round 2, question 6. Mission Impossible 3. This director started off doing television and now has become synonymous with, again, kind of very thought-provoking blockbusters and films. Has his own production company, again, and was very involved with a certain new trilogy of movies there, which, again, I'm not going to go into because I don't want to give you too much of a clue. But round 2, question 6, Mission Impossible 3. Okay, and that's your roundup there of directorial debuts. So who's that knocking at my door is number 1. Number 2, THX 1138. 3, Duel. 4, Fear and Desire. 5, Bad Boys. And 6, Mission Impossible. I'm not gonna lie, I really like my music that I use. I've got basically, if you're a YouTuber out there, you're looking to use kind of license-free, royalty-free music, you can sign up to Epidemic Sounds, and they give you kind of a really big bank of like over 30,000, 40,000 songs, which you can use for your YouTube videos or online projects. And I have to say, it's the best. Again, not been paid to say this, but yeah, it's really, really good, and I actually really enjoy the tracks that I have, and it's like I'm always listening to them when I'm doing the show, going, yeah, dig this groove. Anyway, you're watching Big Nerd Pub Quiz. Thanks very much for tuning in. And like I said, let's move on to the next round. I'll hopefully get some shout outs for you guys in the next, at the halftime mark here. But round 3. Another one that we've done before. It's almost as if I'm running out of ideas for quiz questions. Anyway, not to worry. Single letter answers. Like I said, all the next couple of questions are all about answers with single letters. Very, very straightforward. You will see that I have gone for a very dubious, very devious, and very devilish kind of way of doing this. I put every single letter for every single option here, and because the Google form actually, how can I say, it jumbles it all up. Yeah, that'll make it a little bit trickier. So I do apologize if it's not in the correct alphabetical order. It will just make you try to find it a little bit harder. Anyway, we're moving on to the next question here. Round 3, question 1. It's a single letter answer. Hopefully these are straightforward enough. But I'm looking for the atomic symbol of potassium. Round 3, question 1. What is the atomic symbol of potassium? That's round 3, question 1. The atomic symbol of potassium. Round 3, question 2. A widely used programming language. What do I mean by that? A computer programming language. So, there's like Python, there's HTML. But what's this particular programming language? Round 3, question 2. Round 3, question number 3. The BBFC ratings for movies which are suitable for everybody. What is that, do you hear? Well, you know when you go to the cinema or you're renting a movie? No, you don't rent movies anymore. You just, yeah, that's so strange. Used to be when you go down to the video shop. Anyway, you know what I mean if you're of a certain age. You kids out there probably won't know what it's like to have to go down and return your tape within a couple of days. But a BBC FC ratings or movie ratings. So when you go to the cinema that say are like for over 18s or over 15s or over 12As, the BBC FC rating for films which are suitable for everybody. What's the letter there? Single letter there. Round 3, question number 4. In sheet music, a letter which means soft. So round 3, question 2. In sheet music, a letter which means soft. So round 3, question 4. Okay, second time Will Smith's actually cropped up in this. So round 3, question 5. Will Smith's character in Men in Black, Agent... What's the name there? So round 3, question 5. Will Smith's character in Men in Black, Agent what? It's round 3, question number 5. And your final single letter answer sheet today. Round 3, question number 6. Ford's best-selling model. The model... This is an historic one. The first kind of mass-produced car. So yes. Round 3, question 6. Ford's best-selling vehicle. The model what? And like I said before, it's one of those things that was said in when Henry Ford made the car. He says, "What color do you want it?" It's any color you want, as long as it's black. First mass-produced car. Round 3, question number 6. And there's your roundup of questions there. Round 3 questions. Atomic symbol of potassium is number 1. Number 2, widely used programming language. 3, BBFC, that's the British Board of Film Classifications, ratings for films which are suitable for everybody. 4, in sheet music, a letter which means soft. 5, Will Smith's character, the Man in Black, what letter? He was Agent what? And finally, Ford's best-selling model in its history. The model what? So that's round 3, all done. Single letter answers. Alright, so that's 3 down. We've got one more round to go before we hit half time. Hope you're all enjoying tonight's quiz. Hope it's not too difficult. Like I said, do keep getting in touch with me. You can see my phone lighting up here. I've got a couple of little requests and shout outs for this evening. Use the hashtag BigNerdPubQuiz, and like I said, follow me on all the different social media channels. Hope you're all having a good weekend as well. Anyway, here we go. Moving on to the next round, our final round before we hit half time. And as round 4 always seems to be a history round. Yes, no gimmicks or tricks with this one. Just basically 6 questions all about history. So here we go. Round 4, question number 1 tonight. So, what is the name of the famous domed cathedral in Red Square, Moscow, which was consecrated on this day in 1561? Round 4, question number 1. So I'm looking for the name of the famous domed cathedral in Red Square, Moscow, which was consecrated on this day in 1561. Round 4, question number 1. Round 4, question 2. Which famous English rock band played their first gig in London's Marquee Club on this day in 1962? Round 4, question 2. Which famous English rock band played their first gig in London's Marquee Club on this date, 1962? Tell you what, it certainly wasn't the Beatles. I can give you that much. They played their first gig in, let me think, as the Quarrymen. They played it at the St Matthew's Church Hall in Liverpool, in Walton, wasn't it? And then they were played this place called, obviously the Kaiser Keller in Hamburg, on the Top 10 Club in Hamburg. And as well as, what's the cafe? Can't remember the name of the cafe. But they also played this, obviously the Cavern. Can't forget that, in Matthew Street in Liverpool. But round 4, question 2. Which famous English rock band played their first gig in London's Marquee Club on this day in 1962? Round 4, question 3. The New York City draft riots took place on this day in 1863. It's almost 100 years before that. The events which were depicted in which film? So yes, it was an interesting period of the riots themselves were motivated by ones who didn't want to be drafted to fight in the Civil War for the Union forces against the South. And the riots took place on this day, and they took a racial element because a lot of people who were rioting considered there's a why are we fighting to, rescue slaves and defeat the South. But that's the reason why the riots happened. But they're depicted in a very famous movie, recent enough film, only about 18 years old. But the New York City draft riots took place on this day, or around this day, in 1863. The events which were depicted in which film? Round 4, question 4. Another little bit of an American history here, but this week in 1804, Aaron Burr shot and killed which Secretary of the Treasury in a duel? I know a lot of you scratching your heads with this. It's like, that's a pretty niche question, man. But then it might be familiar to, let's just say, certain members of your family who might be into musicals. So if you're into musicals, you might know the answer to this. It's the only clue I'm going to give you for this one. Round 4, question 4. On this week in 1804, Aaron Burr shot and killed which Secretary of the Treasury in a duel? Round 4, question 5. What was the name of the American chess player that defeated Boris Spassky this week in 1972? Kasparov actually said that was kind of one of the worst moments of the Cold War. Right. Yes, the Americans beating the Russians at chess. But what was the name of that American chess player that defeated Boris Spassky this week in 1972? It's round 4, question number 5. And your final question, your final history question this evening is, yes, tomorrow is the 35th anniversary of Live Aid. But who opened the Philadelphia concert? Now, I did a big Live Aid special when we looked at the 1980s quiz there. We did a few weeks ago. We did a whole round about Live Aid, considering it kind of be one of the pinnacle moments of 1980s music. And the set in Wembley Stadium was opened by Status Quo, rocking all over the world. But who opened the American gig, which took place at the same time, all the way in Philadelphia on the same day? Phil Collins made the trip via Concorde, played a gig in London, jumped on the Concorde, flew the 3-hour flight, supersonic flight, to America, and was playing in Philadelphia later that day. Round 4, question 6. Who opened the Live Aid in Philadelphia? This time 35 years ago. So go over those questions one more time. What's the name of the famous domed cathedral in Red Square, Moscow, that was consecrated on this day in 1561? Number 2, which famous English rock band played their first gig in London's Marquee Club on this day in 1962? 3, the New York City draft riots took place on this day in 1863, but the events were depicted in which film? Which 2002 film? I'll give you that clue too. Number 4, this week in 1804, Aaron Burr shot and killed which Secretary of the Treasury in a duel? 5. What was the name of the American chess player that defeated Boris Spassky this week in 1972? And number 6. Live Aid took place on this weekend 35 years ago, but who opened the Philadelphia concert? Okay, by my watch, it's just after 8:30 on this 12th of July 2020. We're over halfway throughout the quiz, and like we always do, a couple of little points of order, a couple of wee shout-outs, and little advertisements that I always do every weekend, week out. So, like I said, always check out the Stuck in Here With You podcasts. My buddy Jez and Mary do that one. It's on Spotify, Podbean, and Apple Podcasts. They have noticed a slight jump in their figures. I do credit that because of you guys giving it a wee look on the quiz here. Also check out Hot Topic Nightmare, my buddy Paul, who wrote the Pokemon quiz and also going to be writing the games quiz in a couple of weeks. It's Hot Topic Nightmare. It's on mixcloud.com. Do check that out. Also, if you're into podcasts and want to check out a curated list of cool nerdy podcasts, whatever you're into, check out the Nerd Party. And who could forget, massive shout out to Banterflix and the Fright Club. The Banterflix guys wrote my Disney quiz and movie quiz, and the guys at the Fright Club pulled together a fantastic horror movie quiz. It's a really fun one, so if you're into your horror movies, do check that out. Also, how about we listen to my radio show every morning on Zest FM? I do a radio show every morning, 7 till 10, the Mark Hughes Breakfast Show, every weekday morning. If you're into your 80s hits, and tomorrow I'm doing a Live Aid special. We're going to be playing all the songs from Live Aid. So my entire playlist will be tunes from that day from the UK and the USA. Also, don't forget, you could be in for a chance to win a fantastic Northern Iron Tees t-shirt. Big Nerd Pub Quiz. Highest score will be getting that, and some fantastic selection of beers from Northern Iron Brew. Yes, they're not related, those two companies. Just happen to be called Northern Iron Brew Company and Northern Iron Tea Company. But yes, a nice selection of beers there from the Northern Iron Brew Co. And don't forget, if you want to support the quiz, by all means, do give us a shout on the Patreon and the PayPal. Quick bunch of shout outs before we move on. We got Mercedes and Grant over in Halifax, Nova Scotia, watching the quiz. As always, good to hear from you guys. I had another message just came in there on the Twitter. See, if you could see it this time, can I get a shout out from my mom Sarah tonight, please? She turned 50 on Wednesday, and that's from Penny. She's a good friend of mine. She's a cosplayer that I know from various conventions over in the UK. Yes. And you keep the shout-outs coming. Big shout-out to my buddies in London who are watching tonight. My mum and dad are downstairs who are watching the quiz. As always, hope you guys are enjoying it too. Anyway, let's waste no more time and move straight on into the very next round. Round 5. Love it or loathe it, it's always sports. Yes, your dreaded sports round. I don't know. People either love it or hate it, but like I said, sports fans, they're the biggest nerds out there. They just don't know it. Anyway, round 5. This is all about big sports rivalries. So yes, 6 questions, all about famous rivalries. Sure, what would sport be without rivalry? Anyway, round 5. Question 1. Which rivalry in Major League Baseball is known as the Subway Series? It's round 5, question 1. Major League Baseball is starting up again, albeit for a very short season. Normally a season in MLB is very long, of over 120 odd games. But this year, because of coronavirus, they are reducing it to a 60-game series, with the playoffs happening way later now in the autumn. But yes, which rivalry in Major League Baseball is known as the Subway Series? Round 5, question 2. I know Spurs Arsenal were playing earlier on today. But who holds the record for most wins in the North London Derby as of 2020? I don't think that record's been changed after the result tonight. I think the score, I'm just looking at the scores here. Yeah, Spurs won 2-1, but I don't think the actual overall record has been changed. But who holds the record for the most wins in the North London Derby as of 2020? Round 5, question 3. What is the oldest international football rivalry? Yes, me and my buddies were talking about this last night and trying to actually figure out where the first game is actually held. And some blogger has extrapolated, based on the winner of that first game, right? That winner was technically the World Championship, right? If you think about it. It's the first international match played. Whoever wins that are going to be the ultimate team in the world, right? So, have worked on the basis of that. And every other game that's come after that, there's technically an unofficial football rivalry there. So that team that won that particular game, you have to see it to believe it. Yeah, and some guys worked it out. I think the current champions of the world is Holland, based on the logic that an unbroken link between that game and international football now. Blows your mind. Round 5, question 3. What's the oldest international football rivalry? Round 5, question 4. What is the name given to the rugby league rivalry between the Queensland Maroons and the New South Wales Blues? Yes, I stumbled across this game one morning in a pub in London. I was in to watch the Lions Test Rugby Union, and there's loads of these Australians there, and they're like, I was like, you're not watching the Lions game? They're like, no, mate. It's Queensland versus New South Wales. I was like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's cool. And they said what it is. It's a really big deal, this. It's kind of like their All-Ireland final / Super Bowl. Rugby league's very, very popular down in Australia. But what's the name given to that rugby league rivalry between the Maroons and the Blues? Round 5, question 5. Which two teams make up the Super Classico in South America? Very keen to go to see that at some point. In fact, it's on my bucket list. As soon as coronavirus lifts, I'm going. I've actually looked at a tour company about doing this and going to see some amazing football matches in South America. But these two teams make up the Super Classico. Which two? Round 5, question 5. Let's just say it was that violent. They got into the final of the South American Champions League. And the rivalry between the two sets of fans was so violent they had to call the match off and play it in Madrid. Irony of ironies. Round 5, question 5. Which two teams make up the Super Classico in South America? And your final question here, because I watched the movie, it was actually very, very funny. Round 5, question 6. Which figure skater had a heated rivalry with Nancy Kerrigan, which was later made into a film in 2017 starring Margot Robbie? It's brilliant. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. It's very well directed, very well made. Alison Janney won an Oscar for The Very Horrible Mother. Round 5, question 6. So like I said, I shouldn't say it was a comedy, but it is quite dark. Round 5, question 6. Which figure skater had a heated rivalry with Nancy Kerrigan, which was later made into a 2017 film starring Margot Robbie? And there is your roundup of sports questions this week. So, which rivalry in Major League Baseball is also known as the Subway Series? Think about it. It's pretty logical if you think about it. 2. Who holds the record for the most wins in the North London Derby between Arsenal and Tottenham as of 2020? 3. What's the oldest international football rivalry? 4. What's the name given to the rugby league rivalry between Queensland Maroons and the New South Wales Blues? 5. Which two teams make up the Super Classico in South America? And finally, number 6. Which figure skater had a heated rivalry with Nancy Kerrigan, which was later made into a 2017 movie starring Margot Robbie? Alright, sports round all done and dusted. Let's move on to the next one. And it's all about... It's a true or false round. Very straightforward. So like I said, the best way to do this is actually just use your logic. But yes, true or false questions. Could be simple, like I said, if you don't know it, flip a coin, take a guess. Could just do it for you. Alright, round 6. Question number 1. M&M stands for Mars and Murdale. I never knew this. You just assume. I've never questioned what M&M stands for. Melt in your mouth, not in your hand. Big fan of the chocolate ones. And those caramel ones are very tasty as well. Not so much the peanut ones. But M&M stands for Mars and Murdale. Is that true or false? Round 6, question 2. True or false? The Great Wall of China is longer than the distance between London and Beijing. Don't worry, I've got all the facts here to back this up. case you're wondering at the very end. But round 6, question 2. The Great Wall of China, longer than the distance between London and Beijing. I have climbed a section of it a couple of years ago. It's very, very, very long. Didn't do all of it, of course. But round 6, question 2. Round 6, question 3. Canis lupor is the scientific name for a wolf. It's round 6, question number 3. Canis lupor is the scientific name for a wolf. Yes, the term canine is the root of the Latin for canis. You know, so canine, obviously the dog being a family member of that particular subspecies. But Canis lupor is the scientific name for a wolf. True or false? Round 6, question 4. Louis Walsh is older than Simon Cowell. Is that true or false? You think by looking at him, but then Simon Cowell, you can tell he's gone to the old plastic surgeon quite a lot recently. Anyway, round 6, question 4. Louis Walsh is older than Simon Cowell. Round 6. True or false? So is that true or false? Round 6, question 5. Another pop one here, but Howard Donald is the oldest member of Take That. Is that true or false? So we got Mark, Jason, Howard, Gary, Robbie. Round 6, question 5. And round 6, question 6. True or false? There are 5 different blood groups. Round 6, question 6. Any of you doctors or nurses in the family will be like, is that true or is it false? There are 5 different blood groups. True or false? And there's your roundup there of true or false questions. Go through them one more time. M&M stands for Mars and Murdale. True or false? The Great Wall of China is longer than the distance between London and Beijing. True or false? Canis lupor is the scientific name for a wolf. True or false? Louis Walsh is older than Simon Cowell. Number 4. Number 5. True or false? Howard Donald is the oldest member of Take That. And finally, true or false? There are 5 different blood groups. All right, there, and that's our kind of roundup there for the true or false round. 6 down, 2 more to go. Anyway, we'll move straight on here. Time now getting 8:45. And like I said, I'm always trying to get these quizzes done inside an hour. But here we go. Here's our next round, and it's all about geography and former capital cities. Yes. The cities I'm going to mention were former capitals of particular countries and territories. I want you to name what particular region or country they were the capital of, basically. That's pretty much straightforward. But like I said, we've done this before with former flags. But yes, decided to do it with former capital cities, and actually learned on the way, it's not included here, but Seoul, they're actually moving the capital of South Korea from Seoul to another location. So it's a purposely built capital city. Just actually further away from the border in a more centralized position of the country. But that happens. But anyway, here are 6 former capitals of various countries. You have to guess which one or which country was it the capital of. So here we go, round 7, question 1. Coimbra. This is pretty tricky, I'm not going to lie. If you know your geography, if you know particular names of these places, or if you've ever been on holiday and you've come across these particular cities or towns, then it'll give you a bit of an indication. But round 7, question 1, Coimbra is your first one there. So I'm looking for the current. What was that the former capital? What country was that the former capital of? Round 7, question 2. Fairly straightforward with this one, but St. Petersburg. It's the former capital city of which country? Round 7, question 2. Very recognizable, this one. I should put this as question number 1 if you think about it. Round 7, question 2. St. Petersburg is the former capital city of which country? Round 7, question 3. Uppsala. So Uppsala, the former capital of which country? Uppsala. Round 7, question 4. Poznan. So Poznan. You'll recognize this. They have a very famous football team there. They were in the Champions League a couple of years back. They have a very famous dance that the fans do. Lech Poznan. But which country was Poznan the former capital of? Round 7, question 5. Roskilde. This will be known to many rock fans out there. I know loads of you guys will have heard of the festival that happens there. The Roskilde Festival. I doubt it'll be happening now this year. Everything's been cancelled. But round 7, question 5. Roskilde. And finally, round 7, question 6. Parana. Not Piranha, but Parana. It's a South American country. I'll give you the clue on that. It's quite difficult, this one. So Parana. Former capital city of which particular country? And there's your geography roundup for this evening. So Coimbra, St. Petersburg, Uppsala, Poznan, Roskilde and Paranda. All former capital cities. Match the countries to them. All right, there, and that's your final. We're now coming up to the final round. Like I said, as always, do stick about for the answers at the very end of the quiz. You'll get your scores as soon as you hit submit. But like I said, do stick about to hear how you got on. Anyway, round 8 is all about arts and literature. Famous last lines. Yes, now a couple of weeks ago, we did a whole round about famous lines in movie, or famous first lines of opening books. Famous opening lines of books. But these are the famous last lines of the books. Let's see how you get on with this. Here's round 8, question number 1. So which famous book is this the very last line? I think it's a nice easy one to start you off with this one. Round 8, question 1. He loved Big Brother. Or he loved Big Brother. So round 8, question 1. He loved Big Brother. It's the final line of which famous 20th century novel? Round 8, question 2. Later on, he will understand how some men so loved her that they did dare much for her sake. It's round 8, question 2. So later on, he will understand how some men so loved her that they did dare much for her sake. It's round 8, question 2. A modern horror classic. One of the early horror novels. That's your clue on that one. Round 8, question 3. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. Now, if you know the opening line of this book is also extremely famous, and it's a very, very famous closing line. It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known. Round 8, question 3. Round 8, question 4. It's funny. Don't ever tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody. A modern, and again, a 1950s book. Round 8, question 4. It's funny. Don't ever tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody. Round 8, question 4. Your penultimate question tonight. The old man was dreaming about the lions. Might be a clue in there, the title. Just saying. I find this a little bit difficult. The old man was dreaming about the lions. Round 8, question 5. Here comes your last question. Don't forget, hit submit. You'll get your score. And here it comes. Oh, boop, there I am. He turned out the light and went into Jem's room. He would be there all night, and he would be there when Jem waked up in the morning. The clue might be there in the name of a character which is in the book. But if you know the book, and if you know the characters in the book, they might actually rattle something in there. He turned out the light, went into Jem's room. He would be there all night, and he would be there when Jem waked up in the morning. Round 8, question 6, your final arts and lit question and final question tonight of tonight's Big Nerd Pub Quiz. There's the roundup of your final lines of famous books. He loved Big Brother, number 1. Number 2, later on he will understand how some men so loved her that they did dare much for her sake, in number 2. Number 3, it is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done. It is a far, far better rest that I go to than I've ever known. Number 4, it's funny. Don't ever tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody. 5, the old man was dreaming about the lions. And 6, he turned out the light and went into Jem's room. He would be there all night, and he would be there when Jem waked up in the morning. Alright, thank you very much for joining me tonight on tonight's Big Nerd Pub Quiz. Hope you've got all your answers submitted. Just to give you a big heads up on what's coming up this week, we've got Big Nerd Sci-Fi Quiz, which is going to be written by myself this Tuesday the 14th. And keeping it sci-fi, if you know any Whovians out there, the Big Nerd Doctor Who Quiz is on this Thursday, 16th of July, 8 p.m. I know loads of you have been looking forward to that one and requesting that one, so we've got that lined up for you as well. So those are the lineup. The rest of it, we're back every Sunday with the General Knowledge Quiz. And we've got the games quiz and wrestling quiz coming up the week after, and a second music quiz and Star Trek quiz for all you big Trekkies out there at the very end of the month on the 30th. So get those in your diary. And if you have any suggestions for any sorts of quizzes or any rounds that you'd like to hear, any themes, by all means let me know. I'll always, I can always change the general knowledge quiz into something a little bit more specialist if you guys fancy it. Keep in touch with me, all Big Nerd Pub Quiz and all the different social media channels here. And thank you so much for playing and supporting me on the Patreon and PayPal. I have to say, I really, really do appreciate it. It's made me into this little job. And like I said, don't forget, if you want to hire Big Nerd Pub Quiz, you can. Like I said, we're already down to do a private birthday party in the next couple of weeks. And I've also done like corporate gig there on Friday, which went really well, and also did doing a couple of charity gigs in the next couple of months. But like I said, yes, always here and available to do those, and you can get your final, you can play. I've sorted out so you can actually play as teams. Anyway, here comes your answers for this week's Big Nerd Pub Quiz. So round 1. Answers. So Neowise is actually a comet. 2, the Champions League final is going to take place in Lisbon. 3, Valtteri Bottas won the first Grand Prix of the return of the season there. 4, Ennio Morricone actually won his first Oscar for scoring the music for the soundtrack of The Hateful Eight. Coconuts were the product that UK supermarkets said they're going to pull from their shelves because they found out the monkeys are actually picking them. And Jack Charlton actually managed Newcastle United before he became manager of Ireland in 1986. Your movies. So Who's That Knocking on My Door was directed by Martin Scorsese. George Lucas, THX 1138. All you big nerds will know that one. You see THX and 1138 pop up in loads of different media. Steven Spielberg's first movie was Duel. Stanley Kubrick, Fear and Desire. Bad Boys, Michael Bay. And Mission Impossible 3, J.J. Abrams. Your single letter round, so the atomic symbol for potassium is K. C is a widely used programming language, C++ and C++. BBFC ratings for movies which are universal or U. Piano is P, piano forte. Piano means soft. Will Smith's character in Men in Black is J. And Ford's best-selling model is the Model T. Or was the Model T. Your history round up there. St. Basil's Cathedral consecrated on this day in 1561. The Rolling Stones played their first gig at London's Marquee Club in 1962. Gangs of New York, again another Martin Scorsese movie there, depicted the New York City draft riots in 1863. All you Hamilton fans would have got this one. Aaron Burr shot and killed Secretary of State, or Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton in a duel in 1804. Bobby Fischer was the name of that chess player who defeated Boris Spassky in 1972, and Joan Baez opened Live Aid in America. The Subway Series is the first answer there for the sports round. The Subway Series is the Mets versus the Yankees. The Bronx Bombers, who are the Yankees, and the Mets, which are based in Queens. And that's the Subway Series, you know, get it? Arsenal currently have the record over Spurs with 82 wins as of 2002. The oldest football rivalry in the world is Scotland versus England. It was actually played up in Scotland. The rivalry between Queensland and New South Wales is State of Origin. The two teams that make up the Super Classico are Boca Juniors and River Plate. And Tonya Harding was the figure skater that had a very tumultuous rivalry with Nancy Kerrigan. So, those true or false. So, M&M doesn't actually stand for Mars and Moordale. It stands for Mars and Murray. The Great Wall of China is actually longer than the distance between London to Beijing is only 8,136 kilometers. The Great Wall of China is 21,000 kilometers long. Wow. Number 3, false. The Canis lupus is the scientific name for a wolf. It's actually Canis lupus. True, Louis Walsh is older than Simon Cowell. Louis Walsh is 67, Simon Cowell is 60. 5, Howard Donald is the oldest member of Take That. That is true. And there's 4 different blood types, A, B, AB, and O. Your former capital cities there. So Coimbra was the former capital of Portugal. St. Petersburg was the former capital of Russia. Uppsala was the former capital of Sweden. Poznan in Poland before it moved to Warsaw. Roskilde in Denmark. And Parana in Argentina. And your final round there, He Loved Big Brother, was 1984. Later on, he would understand how some men loved her, that they did dare much for her sake, was Dracula. It's a far, far better thing that I do is Tale of Two Cities. It's a funny Don't Tell Anybody Anything is The Catcher in the Rye. 5, The Old Man Was Dreaming About the Lions, The Old Man in the Sea. The clue was there, the old man. And finally, he turned out the light and went into Jem's room, was To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, if you knew the character Jem, who was in that book and in the very famous adaptation with Gregory Peck, then you might have got that one. Anyway, thank you very much for playing this Sunday edition of Big Nerd Pub Quiz. Like I said, we're back every Sunday at 8 p.m. and hopefully we'll continue that on going forward over the next couple of months, and probably, like I said before, reduce it down to 1 quiz a week and do it every Sunday to keep it alive. But like I said, the next quiz this week is Big Nerd Sci-Fi Quiz and Doctor Who Quiz. That's the rest of July. And don't forget to stay in touch. Do check out my radio show tomorrow. We're doing a Live 8 special on the Back to the 80s Zest FM Breakfast Show. I do have a few listeners who've come over from the quiz. And they always text in. It's always good to hear from them. But yes, do check that out. That's the Zest FM Back to the 80s Breakfast Show. Tomorrow from 7 till 10. And it just remains me to say good night. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all again for the next Big Nerd Pub Quiz. Stay in touch with me, and I'll see you all again shortly. Thank you very much for playing, and have a great evening, and have a fantastic week. And get seeing you soon. Good night, guys.